Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Wednesday Wisdom brought to you by K-12 Sports Tech on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's Wednesday Wisdom guest, but as always, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director, or I've got a direct connection to, and I strongly recommend that you use them as well. Trust me, you're really going to be glad you did. So, take a couple minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Wednesday Wisdom segment, then go visit these sponsors. Here we go. We want to say thanks to K-12 Sports Tech. They help ADs and sports vendors connect through education and hands-on consulting services. And athletic directors are invited to join the K-12 Sports Tech AD think tank and help influence how companies shape their tech to better serve schools. To find out more or to join the think tank, just go to k12sportstech.com/join. You're going to be glad you did. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their scoreboards and their score tables in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to find out more information about their great products. We also want to thank Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I wanted a platform that was going to work for all of our teams, and Huddle came through like a champ. Our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. Go to their website, vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to showcase your school record boards for all the teams, for all the sports, or your school's Hall of Fame, or simply share your school's unique history and your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you will use every single day. Things like scheduling, uploading scores and rosters, communicating with your stakeholders, student athlete eligibility and clearance. Who doesn't do that every day? Home Campus is going to do all of these things better, going to do them faster, and it's going to give you a lot of time back in your schedule. To get started, just go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We want to thank Snap Raise for their support. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and ended up with little, if any, return? Stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraising platform out there. We used it at our school because it works. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you found it. Go to snapraise.com. You're going to be very glad that you did. We also want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At our school, we use surveys for everything, coaches, parents, kids, and the information that came back was extremely valuable. It was a lot more in-depth than the folks that we heard from and that you hear from every day, the complainers, the gripers. Okay, but that's only a small percentage. Athletic Surveys is going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. And that information is, like I said, very valuable when you're talking with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to help you take your athletic program from good to great. We want to thank Gipper. It's all about social media today. That's where the kids are, and a lot of the parents too. And if you're not posting social media to promote your teams and your athletes, you're really missing out. Go to Gipper.com. Their team is going to show you how to create world-class content in seconds. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com. It's trusted by over 4,000 high school and college programs across the country. It's professional graphic design made easy. That's Gipper.com. We also want to say thank you to the Ohio University Online Master of Science in Athletic Administration. This is an affordable 20-month online master's program that focuses exclusively on interscholastic athletic administration. When you finish, you're not only going to have your master's degree, you're going to have 11 NIAAA leadership training courses that can go towards your RAA or your CAA. And you'll also be part of a nationwide network with connection in athletics in the world of K through 12. To get started, just go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters. We'd like to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com. Their team is going to show you how to set up and sell your tickets online for all of your events. Hometown Ticketing, it's digital ticketing that offers more. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We've got one of our starters, one of our original guests on Wednesday Wisdom, the great Jen Garrett. Regular listeners will recognize her name. If not, you need to, we'll go to LinkedIn and try to connect with her. I'm sure she'll reach out, but has a tremendous background. She is a best-selling author, a couple of books, Dominate the Game and Move the Ball. She's also a speaker on a national level. She's a podcast host. She's a branding expert. Very much an expert in many, many things. Jen Garrett, welcome back to Wednesday Wisdom.
Hi, Jake. It's so good to be back yet again. I always enjoy doing these segments, so thank you for always including me in the opportunity to do these. And as you know, Jake, I just got back from military duty. For those who might not know, I'm an Army lawyer. And Jake, you had reached out to me a couple days ago just to make sure that we were good with recording this segment. And I was like, yep, all good over here. So last night I was thinking about, and I was talking to one of my daughters, and I was like, what do I want to talk about today? And so I was thinking about that. And then I accidentally spilled my cup of water that I had on I was sitting on the couch. It was on the floor. So it spills on the floor. Now my floors are hardwood. And I was like, oh, dang it. And I'm like, you know what? This is an opportunity. I'm going to mop the floor with the water that had spilled. And so I told her, I said, that's what I'm going to talk about. How you turn misfortune into opportunity. And she's like, really? You're going to tell people about you spilling this water? And I was like, well, I don't know. But I was like, maybe that'll be the topic. And then I thought about it some more. So I've got another topic, but I did want to mention that though, because things happen that don't go our way or that are frustrating. And you can choose to get all flustered over it, or you can say, you know what? How can I turn this into an opportunity? So this is a simple example with my water spilling, but it drives a point. It's like there's always an opportunity that you can turn something into if it isn't going in a direction that you want. So look for how you can do that. So I just wanted to mention that real quickly. But the other topic I thought about last night was about mindfulness in chaos, or being mindful during chaos. And the reason I was like, oh, that's a better topic is you mentioned, Jake, that I have my podcast. It's called Move the Ball. And I have episodes that come out twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. And recently, earlier this week, I had a podcast episode released with a gentleman named Will Blackman, who played in the NFL for 12 years. And during our episode, he used that term mindfulness during the chaos, and he explained it. And so I was thinking about it last night, and I was like, oh, that would be a perfect thing to talk about, because as we navigate through life, inevitably we're going to encounter storms along the way. That's just the way it is, right? And so it's really the people that are successful in life are the ones that know how to be mindful during the storm, calm in the chaos, and figure out, how do I continue to weather the storm and progress forward to get to where I'm trying to go? So that's really the message that I wanted to hone in on today. And there's a few things I want to leave everyone with. Like, how do you do that? I mean, that's great. Okay, I should be calm during the storm. Easier said than done sometimes, right? When you don't know what's happening, or you feel like you're in crisis, or the world is crashing down on you. Like, how do you do this? And so a couple things I want to talk about. One is embrace the moment, like be fully present. In the sports world, we hear the phrase, be where your feet are, right? So show up to the moment, or to that day, or that week, or however long you're going through the storm, and just figure out what are the things that you can control. Another common phrase, Jake, that you know, and that a lot of people listening or watching know, is to control what you can control. We hear athletes and coaches talk about this all the time. So as you're trying to navigate this chaos or this period of uncertainty, what are the things that you actually can take action on and affect versus all these other outside factors that are going on that are contributing to the situation? So I think those two things are very important. We know that how you show up to life and the things that you do determines the outcomes that you will have. And so you can't control certain things, but there are your attitude, your effort, your energy, the actions, those are things that you can control. So make sure that you're focusing your attention on those things. And just even going back to my spilled water example, I mean, I could have been frustrated, I could have been upset for an hour or whatever because now I had to clean this up. Instead, I was like, okay, it spilled, I got to clean it up. Well, let's not just clean it up, let's just mop the floor with it too. So that way I felt like I was doing something positive, but that protected my energy too. And it gave me a positive vibe that I'm continuing to carry on instead of being flustered and that negativity dragging down my day, which usually, if you're more negative, you're less productive as well. So that's one. Also, coping, like how do you cope? We all have different coping strategies when things are not going our way. And some people don't have coping strategies. So if you're one of those people that just gets flustered, I would really encourage you to think about how can I navigate these types of situations so that I am better dealing with what is coming in front of me. Am I, taking a time out is something that I tell people to do. It's something I write about in my book, Dominate the Game, that you mentioned earlier, Jake. And timeouts are important, and we always forget about them because we're so caught up in the day to day. But when you take a timeout and you pause, it's doing a number of things. One, it's giving you an opportunity to just breathe and reset and just take a break and assess the situation, because usually it's not as bad as you think it is when you're caught up in the motion and the emotions of it and just, the chaos, right? So take some time to pause, reflect, look at, okay, what is really going on and what can I do to try to make the situation a little bit better? What opportunities can I find amongst this chaos that I can try to work on so that this event that's going on that might seem horrific isn't really so bad? I just got to figure out my plan to be able to move forward. Now, in that, it's also important to think about, who are you surrounding yourself with? Do you have the right support network with you? And when Will was on my show, he talked about how he had been released from the Green Bay Packers. That team was bound for the Super Bowl and he thought he was going to be a part of it. He got injured, he got released, and how that was not a fun time for him and trying to figure out what his next move was. But he talked about how he had a great support system. So I would really encourage you to think about, who are the people that are in my corner that I will lean on if I'm going through chaos or not fun times or negative, dark times, whatever it is, because you really need to have those people that are going to uplift you and that are going to help you figure out what that game plan is. Usually those are people that are high performing individuals because they know to just like, we're going to get through it. We're going to help you. Whatever you need, you've got this, right? They're going to provide that positive reinforcement. So avoid those Debbie Downers and those negative Nancys, but really think through. I would make a list of, okay, who are the people that I need to have in my circle? Do I have those kind of people? And if I don't, maybe I need to make some changes and adjustments. In my Move the Ball book, Jake, that you mentioned too, there's a chapter called Drop the Dead Weight. And it talks about assessing who's in your circle and do you have the right people? Do you have the right energy around you? So I think that's important as well. And then lastly, I would say throughout the journey and what you're going through, it's important to maintain your sense of purpose. Like, why is it that you are doing what you're doing? We all have events that are going to test our resolve and that are going to make us wonder, like, am I doing the right thing, or should I go do something else? And when you come back to that why and that purpose, then it makes it easier to weather the storm and to be mindful during the chaos and to figure out your game plan. We all know that you have to pivot and adjust as conditions require that to be successful. So if you remember the why are you doing something? What is your purpose? That's going to continue to drive you through these circumstances that might not be so fun. And when you get through it, you're going to feel amazing because you didn't give up, right? You continue to press on even through that negativity or uncertainty. And so I think that today, this message it's relevant because there's so much going on in the world, and it's so easy to get caught up in all that noise, right? Whatever noise you want to hone in on, there's a lot of it out there. There's a lot of negative energy. So how do you protect your mind and your focus so that you can continue to progress on the things that you want to do so that you are moving the ball? So Jake, that's what I said. I've said a lot in there, but I think it all ties together to the theme of, just looking at being calm in the chaos, finding the opportunities so that you can continue to move forward.
Uh, wow, so many great takeaways there. And you said it was a lot, but um, several things really resonated with me. You talked about, making sure you have the right people around you, your team, your tribe. It's just so critical. Most of my listeners are, athletic directors, coaches. You have a much wider audience than I do, but in their day and anybody's day, it very rarely goes, lockstep perfect with no adjustments. You mentioned pivoting, and it's just such an important skill to have, emotionally as well as intellectually, because, hey, if you're doing things right, you're challenging yourself, and things aren't always going to go the right way. So just, wow, great, great message. As always, our podcast is about connections, and we want people to be able to connect with you. One of our listeners wanted to reach out and become a part of your team, your tribe. What's the best way that they can find out more about Jen Garrett?
Yeah, two places. You mentioned LinkedIn earlier. So if you just type in Jennifer A. Garrett or hashtag move the ball, then you should find me. My LinkedIn URL is the last part of it is move the ball. So that might be the easy way to find me. Reach out, connect with me there. Always love meeting new people and having conversations. And then secondly, you can always go to my website. I do have lots of sports themes and references. So the website is getinsidethehuddle.com. But, go there. You've got my email is there. There's also a contact form. You can send me a message. Would love to hear from you.
Okay. Well, Jen Garrett, thanks as always for sharing with us. And you mentioned your service. Thank you for your service to our country. Really appreciate that. And all the best with your many enterprises that you have going on. You need to take a break. Hope you got a vacation coming up soon.
Thank you. Well, I am recouping from my duty, but I'm taking a time out too, which is important to just recharge and recoup and re-energize as well.
All right. Well, all the best. For our listeners, we certainly appreciate you tuning in. And just a reminder, we upload all of our Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this one every week, and we have interviews and best practices just about every day. So we hope you come back for the next Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. The great Jen Garrett, always fun to have her on. Make sure you check out her podcast, her books, Jen Garrett on LinkedIn, Dominate the Game and Move the Ball are the two books. Before we go, as always, we want to acknowledge our sponsors. K-12 Sports Tech sponsors our Wednesday Wisdom segments. And the podcast is brought to you by Gipper, Huddle, Home Campus, Hometown Ticketing, Sideline Interactive, Snap, Raise, Vital Signs Wall of Fame, Athletic Surveys, and the Ohio University Masters in Athletic Administration. Take the time to visit these sponsors. They're all companies that I used as an athletic director. You should be using them too. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.